So like Mr. Alford said, thank you for that performance, Mr. Alford. So I'm up here presenting my senior 4-point this morning. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory title. I did a solo community service road trip in my car. Took me about a week, and I'll show you the route and stuff. And I did an active service in each state in New England. So this is my essential question. How does it feel to make a positive impact on numerous different communities, all while navigating new areas? So I kind of combined two interests here. I really like to travel. So my initial plan A was to go to Africa and finish a project I started in 7th grade, but that wasn't feasible. So I decided to travel in a different way. And I also wanted to go on it with community service, which those of you who don't know, I'm the co-leader of Reach Out. So I knew that I kind of wanted to incorporate that into my project as well. Okay, so this is my travel route. You can see kind of each stop where I was. I did something in each state, like I said. So I started off in my hometown, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Then I came back up here to Bethel. I went to Montpelier, Vermont, Hartford, Connecticut, Barrington, Rhode Island, and Marlborough, Massachusetts. So those were all the places I went. I did basically one big loop by myself, which was cool. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what I did in each state. So in Portsmouth, I worked a fundraiser at my church, actually, for the senior youth service learning trip. They're going to Alabama in June to learn about racism and racial injustice. And so in order to fundraise, they needed to sell meals to our members. So this is great for me. It was great to feel like I was raising money for a good cause, and they'll get to enjoy that. And it was also great to see some of the members of my church as well. So that was great. I came back up to Bethel next, and I worked at the Bethel Food Pantry. This is something that I've done before, but I wanted to do it again. They've started to make their hours more available, so they're kind of easy to sign up for. So if anyone ever wants to do that, let me know. I can help out with that. But those of you who are local have probably seen this sign, the Food Pantry Open sign, right over by the Bethel Inn in Main Street. So it was really cool to be a part of this. You just kind of helped people get what they needed, start their day off right. This was right in the morning from like 8 to 10. So yeah, this felt really good to help out, stock items, keep track of items, check people in. So that was really nice. Next, I went over to Vermont. Now, the night before I went to Vermont, I had no idea what I was going to do. I had planned a bunch of things. I'd called a bunch of people, emails, calls, voicemails. I did the whole thing, and no one ever got back to me. So I was kind of left with thinking, what should I do? Now, this might not look like your typical community service or other volunteering opportunities, but I would consider random acts of kindness to be a way of making a community better, which is what my goal was to make 6 different communities better. So I ended up writing positive messages on sticky notes in my car once I got to Vermont, and I went into department stores and I slipped them into pants pockets or on tags so that people could find them and be like, oh, this is nice, and just brighten their day a little bit. It was small, but hopefully it made an impact on the people who I wanted it to make an impact on. So that was really nice. I also did bookmarks, so I wrote things on bookmarks and slipped them into books, which was really nice and something that's pretty easily done. So the next day I drove all the way down to Hartford, and I made meals in the back of my car in a parking garage, clean obviously. And I gave them out to the unhoused people in Connecticut and Hartford. There are a lot, surprisingly and unfortunately. So it was no difficulty finding people. Unfortunately, it did start to rain, so people tried to take shelter where they could, and it became harder to get to them. But I did it. I wanted to make sure I was respectful, and so I would leave it and say, I want you to have this. And then I would drive back around the corner and I'd see them eating it. And that made me feel pretty good about what I was doing. And I actually brought my little cousin along with me during this trip, which was really nice for us to have that time. And I'd never been to Hartford, so that was new. Then next, I went to Barrington, Rhode Island. This is the next day. And so I did a self-organized beach cleanup. I got there, grabbed a trash bag, put my AirPods in, and just walked for about 45 minutes. And I filled up the whole trash bag. It was a really small beach, so the fact that I found this much trash was kind of surprising. But there's a lot of interesting stuff I found. I found a flosser, mascara bottle, a spoon, pedicure toe things, probably the first water bottle ever made. It looked really gross. Stakes for those like shelters, and lots more. So like I said, I filled up the trash bag, and I just got to explore the beach. This was really a rewarding spot for me because after what had been a little bit of a rocky day between the rain in Connecticut and the random acts of kindness in Vermont, while I was cleaning, a man approached me and I was like, "Hi," and he basically thanked me for what I was doing. He said he doesn't see a lot of people cleaning up the beach at all, and especially kids my age. So he said that was really nice to see, and he thanked me for doing my work. So that proved to me that what I was doing was being seen, and not even that, but just appreciated, which is the whole reason behind this trip. So that was really rewarding. So the last day was kind of how I based most of my trip around, and this was a lot different from anything I had done in the earlier days of the trip. But I helped the Metro West Princess Boutique in Marlborough, Mass, where qualifying families can sign up, and their daughters or sons can go in, find a whole prom dress setup. So I was a personal shopper, so I took one of the girls I worked with. She gave me her permission to put the photo up here, and we went around, we looked for dresses, we went through racks and racks and racks. We went through shoes, jewelry, bags, shawls, everything, and she was able to walk out of there with the whole prom setup free from cost, which is huge. So there was fundraising involved, and the actual day itself was really fun to do, and something I had never really done before. Again, this was really rewarding, and I got to work with my aunt on this. That's how I got connected to it. So it was a long day. It was from like 9 to 5, but I would totally do it again next year. Okay, so what I've learned from this road trip. So there's definitely a difference between what I expected this trip to look like and reality. Like I said, obviously my plan A was way different from what I ended up doing, but I wouldn't have it any other way. But two things that really stood out were independence. So I'm not 18 yet, so I couldn't get a hotel room, which left less independence there. I kind of couch surfed with family, friends, and improvisation. So I had to improvise in a lot of states. Like Vermont, I had to kind of come up with something on the fly as I was driving there. And then Hartford as well, once it started to rain. Another thing is networking is key. I talked with a lot of family and friends beforehand, and that's how I got set up with my aunt. And although some things in Vermont didn't work out, it was good to practice those networking skills of calling, leaving a voicemail, emailing, doing research. So I appreciated that, and that's something I'll definitely take into college and into my professional life. Some of these can be a normal practice of mine, especially that beach cleanup. It took 45 minutes. I seemed to get a lot of stuff, and I could do that just on a normal beach day, still be in the sun, outside, and helping the community. I wasn't surprised by this, but I love exploring new places, and road trips are fun. I'd been to a lot of parts of New England, and obviously I did a lot of towns I was familiar with, but for the most part I branched out, drove new roads, new highways, visited old nostalgic places. So I really just like traveling and exploring new ways of travel. So advice to juniors, not just juniors, but everyone. Talk with people about your plans for a possible project. This could be anyone. If you have family up, talk with them. Friends, bounce ideas off each other. Teachers can help a lot here. They know a lot of people. So when you talk with people, it can take your project in a new direction that you probably wouldn't have thought of on your own, and that's really a really good quality about these projects. So that kind of ties into what I've said earlier, which is networking, really important. It's also a good skill to build for your future endeavors. I would highly recommend combining 2 interests into one project. You don't really have a lot of opportunities to just do something that you want without it counting for a grade or without it sacrificing your job. So this is one opportunity where you really can come up with whatever you want and combine 2 of your favorite things to do into one project. The sky's the limit. So I would definitely take that into consideration. And that's kind of the next thing. Do something you wouldn't do unless you had this opportunity. I said this is a great opportunity. Take advantage of it. And I know I won't forget this trip. And leave room for mistakes. Nothing's going to run smoothly, which is fine. And it'll turn out the way it's supposed to, as long as you're flexible. Thank you. If you have any questions, reach out to me. Has an announcement?
Yeah, so tomorrow's Ryan Kramer's birthday, so if you see him, wish him a happy birthday.